What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another edition of Dream Firm Leader Interviews. And what I'd like to do is introduce to you the woman who's shaking up the foundations of her firm for maximum productivity, a thoroughbred CPA hailing from the great state of Kentucky that drives profitability for healthcare professionals through proactive tax planning and strategic accounting service. The recipient of more gifts of bourbon than she knows what to do with. It is an honor and pleasure to bring to you the wealth of expertise, the fun-loving attitude, the Southern charm of the Dream Firm leader of Fit Money CPA. I love that name, by the way. The one, the only, the Michelle Musacchio. And I hope I didn't butcher your last name too badly. Michelle, welcome. How are you doing today?
Thanks, Al. I'm doing great. Thanks for the introduction.
Yeah, I've always admired Bruce Buffer, and I thought maybe this is my time to shine and let's get ready to run. No, I don't really idolize him, but it's a cool thing to try every so often. But it's a pleasure to have you with us, and we're going to jump right on into today's interview because we've got a lot of people who are very interested in your story and the things that you've been able to accomplish as a part of your journey with Dream Firm. So let's zoom out. Let's go back to the beginning a little bit. Let's talk about that historic accounting experience when you decided to really have that spark to start your own firm. Just bring us back to that point in time, if you wouldn't mind, Michelle.
So we can go back even further than that if you'd like. I'm a little unconventional on how I got to where I am. I actually have a degree in finance from the University of Kentucky, which, as Tyler and I were discussing earlier, I do actually work in Lexington, even though I live in Louisville. And my life wasn't going where I wanted it to go. So I chose to go back to a small college here in Louisville and get my accounting certificate. And from there, received a scholarship to go to the University of Denver for my master's in taxation. And all that being said, after that was finished, Deloitte brought me home and worked there for several years and then joined a couple of local firms. And as most people on this call know, that was right around the time of Sarbanes-Oxley. So the larger firms were only doing the SEC work. The mid-sized firms here in town were picking up the low-hanging fruit from the larger firms, therefore letting their clients down. So in July of 2008, I pulled the trigger and started my own firm.
Wow. So how long has it been that you've been in your own firm now, Michelle? How long?
Now you're asking me to do math. I think it's like 13 years.
Common misconception is that accountants are good at math, apparently. Right. So I feel like that comes to a shock to everyone. They're like, wait, no.
I have a calculator here.
Don't want to work too hard. No, that's fantastic. So look, I think one of the things that's important to realize for some of the people on today's call is that regardless of where you are in your entrepreneurial journey, it's always important to compare yourself to where you were yesterday as opposed to where Michelle is 13 years into her entrepreneurial journey, because that can sometimes cause a little bit of, it can just make it harder for you to be like, why aren't I there? Why are all these other people having this success? And when is it going to happen to me? But it's all about staying on the course. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things that you've picked up in your work experience, and more specifically, the type of clients that you're looking to work with here, Michelle.
So, really, so I guess our hook, going back to your line of training, I have had cats since I was age 4. And my cats, you may or may not say they're spoiled, just a tad, kind of like your chows. So when they get sick, they get the best treatment possible. And because of that, I'm in communication with veterinarians who I'm including in the healthcare industry. And I see their passion for what they do and the compassion that they have for their patients. And, that really strikes a chord with me because I am passionate about the tax world and I am very compassionate towards my clients and I want to see them succeed. And if they are not interested in their own success, I don't want to work with them. So the clients we look for are the ones that, look, I didn't go into medical to do my QuickBooks or my tax returns. I need your help and I want to learn from you.
And that's a wonderful thing to pull from for everyone else here, is that there's two things that might have been easy to miss here, is that Michelle has a strong tie to the community through her relationships with her pets. And for anyone who has pets, I mean, those bonds are, they're magical. They're hard to really put into words. And so to one, be able to reflect on that, and then be able to understand that we can have that same level of compassion and care in our business, but also the people who are helping us with our pets, they can be potentially fantastic clients. I can keep them in their zone of genius, and ultimately I'll stay in my zone of genius, and we'll both benefit as a direct result. So let's walk through that a little bit more here, Michelle, and talk more about the services that you provide. Because yeah, they don't want to necessarily be in their QuickBooks file, but what else? What else is it that we're really looking to do to provide that same experience that you get to benefit from when it's related to your pets? But now we're talking about the finances. And I feel like when we bring it in that kind of light, it sounds kind of weird, but there is an incredible importance to money and being able to have that fit money CPA in your corner. So walk us through a little bit of your services and what that looks like for your clients.
In a really good example, I mean, you brought up my relationships with not just the community of the healthcare, but my relationships in general. And it's the education. And one of my strong relationships I have, again, with my veterinarian, and he and I would just start chit-chatting, and he would tell me about, my shadow was the one that was sick at the time, and tell me about her conditions and whatnot. And then he start using these medical terms. And I'm like, Scott, you start that, I'm going to start reciting code to you. So we would go back and forth. So, and he was asking me about how can he improve his practice, not even my client, but how can he improve his practice. And more recently, he and I were having a conversation. It's what KPIs can he follow? What does he need to know about? How many hours does the doctor need to be in the office, in the exam room, in order to make $1? And how do they align that with their technicians and the inventory that they have? So they have that curiosity. They were just never taught the business side of it in medical school or vet school.
And did anyone hear Michelle say, we file tax returns, we make sure that the chart of accounts is set up properly? Did anyone hear it? I didn't hear anything like that. And again, this to me is such an important thing for us to reflect on, is service. What is it that we're looking to do here? We're looking to help people with what they ultimately want. Yes, there are certain things that have to get done. I'm not trying to downplay the importance of filing tax returns and making sure we have accurate books. But I can tell you right now, the thing that a high quality client is ultimately looking for are the things that Michelle just discussed. So when she's thinking of the services that she delivers and that she believes is going to give maximum value, she's not talking about those things. And that is not something to simply gloss over. It's something for all of you to pull from this and say, that was a very interesting way to answer that question. Would I have answered it the same way? Would I have stayed focused on KPIs, being able to understand profitability for their technicians versus, like, those are meaningful questions that Michelle can provide meaningful answers to, and that's where true value lies. So I love that. Go ahead, Michelle, something to add?
And I think, most clients just expect, okay, you're going to do our books, you're going to do our tax return. So, again, to your point, we don't really talk about that except in the whole sales process of, this is what you're getting for your investment. And beyond that, we do not talk about what we do for our jobs. It's how can we add that value? How can we be your advisor?
Did anyone pick up a great piece of language that Michelle used there by any chance? I know I picked it up because it's something I work on all the time with our clients. You didn't say, this is what you're going to get for your fee. This is what you're going to get for your investment. And that's a small shift, but I can guarantee you that it does reflect the mindset that Michelle has and all of our top clients have, where they're essentially saying, This is not a credit card fee. This is not a baggage fee. This is not a parking fee. This is an investment associated with return. And that to me is just something that I didn't want to lose sight of there, because I was really proud. As soon as I heard, I was like, yes, exactly. That's the investment. Fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about before we started working together here, Michelle, because I can see a number of people on today's interview haven't had a chance to work with us yet. A few people coming back saying hello, which is fantastic. But just walk us through a little bit about what your life was like before working with Dream Firms.
So we'll go back to 2009, 2010. So I don't know if people on here are aware that Tyler's father had a business, and I participated in that. And it great concept, absolutely fantastic concept. Is hard, and hard to get the sales folks and the telemarketers and all that. So it was just hard. And I worked the program, didn't get very far. So, just moved on, went on to the next step in life. Then ran into Tyler on, was it CPA, whatever that, Academy. And actually talked to Tyler, sometime last summer.
Yep.
And it's like, Tyler, your dad's still back in the back of my head, and all that's pulling at me. Then one of my team members also listened to Tyler on CPA Academy, and he said, "Oh my gosh, this is fantastic. We need to do it." I'm like, "Well, let me give Tyler another chance." So called him up, and of course signed up for the program. And again, during that whole time, you feel like you're being pulled in a number of different directions, and everybody's pulling at you, not just clients, but you can see my office. It's a mess. So that always weighs on me. And so since working with Tyler, we have been able to, and I say we because my life partner also works with us, and she's my COO. And between the four of us, including Maureen, we are working on pulling everything in and making it a tighter working environment, so that we have those systems in place. That if I'm having surgery next week, so if something happens to me during surgery and I can't come back for 3 months, somebody's going to be able to pick up that systems book and say, "Okay, we can do this. Let's just keep flowing." So it's been very, very helpful as far as the organization.
Well, I think there's a couple of very interesting things in your response here, Michelle. First being that just because we tried something before doesn't mean that we can't try something new, or the next generation, proverbially speaking, and literally speaking, of course, with trying something for my father. And look, there's many things that my father and his company did successfully. And one of the things that I think they did successfully is recognizing that we can simplify the sales and marketing process, and that we can also keep the accountant in their zone of genius. But hiring and training, regardless if it's a sales rep, whether if it's a account manager, whether it's a tax manager, it doesn't matter necessarily who we're talking about. As we all know, anyone who's been in that hiring role, it's not an exact science. And so what we really want to focus on here at Dream Firms, and is what Michelle really said at the end of her answer here, is we need to be able to not allow ourselves to be the bottleneck in our business. We can't allow our businesses to trap us instead of free us. And the ability to find the efficiencies in your business by having that third-party perspective that comes in and says, let's take a look at what you have, what you love, what's not so good, and be able to draw the lines between them and slowly extract you from the things that we all know you shouldn't be doing in the first place, and it, but getting there can be a hard thing to do. And it's definitely not easy to be able to say, hey, look, I might have surgery. I might need to go on vacation for a while. I might need to do something, but my business needs to continue to run. And I think a lot of people hear those concepts, they agree with them, but the actual tactical implementation to getting there is something a lot of people struggle with. It's not an easy thing, but it's the most worthwhile thing we can be working on. So we're going to talk a little bit more about how we do that and some of the things that we've been able to work on with Michelle. But I want to talk a little bit more about some of the hurdles that you were experiencing before working with us. Give us something really tangible and specific, Michelle, that you feel was a problem prior to working with dream firms that just said, this feels like we'd be able to solve this if we had this expertise and this coaching aspect on our side for our business? What's something that you felt was a struggle?
I think you nailed it just a minute ago. The bottleneck in the business is me. And again, going back to the fact that, we're trying to figure out how do we get that funnel full with the sales prospects. How do I get out of the weeds? And again, that's coming from our OKRs, where specifically this quarter, we're working on procedures. Again, get those down, get me out of it so it's out of my brain and down on paper. And we've had this procedures manual for probably 8 years now. And because of the constant reminders, the gentle pushing from Tyler, it's finally going to be a working document that people can use, as opposed to just something sitting on the shelf collecting dust.
I don't know how many of you that resonates with, but I feel that we put a lot of effort and energy into developing tools, manuals, procedures, and adoption can be something that is difficult for your team, even sometimes for yourself. And that can be frustrating. And all I really want to do is get to the root reason of why that's the case and then solve the problem associated with it. And sometimes it's hard to do that when you're just inside of your own bubble. To be able to get that clarity, to be able to move something from that 80 to 90th percentile to 100%, right? I mean, I don't know about you, but 1,000 things started is not nearly as good as one thing finished really well. And that to me is a big focus. And Michelle used a piece of language there that may not be super familiar for a lot of you. And I'd like to wrap it into today's interview because I think it's great for you guys to be getting into the habit of, and also understanding that this might be really beneficial to bring to your clients as well, is that we do what's known as a quarterly OKR planning session. So every quarter we're meeting and essentially discussing what are our key objectives related to marketing, sales, delivery, operations, and finance. And how do we take those key objectives and break them down into smaller key results, hence OKRs, objective key results. And so then what we're now doing is we're prioritizing what are the most important aspects of your business. And to Michelle's point earlier, some people might look at having an objective over the next quarter related to procedures and they go, but where's the money? Where's the leads? Where's the magic fun stuff? And I like to be as transparent as I can about this. It is extremely difficult to prepare for growth and experience growth simultaneously. Because I can tell you right now, if your objective over the last quarter were related primarily to marketing and sales and you crushed them, they're not going to continue to be objectives about marketing and sales because you're going to have your front end working really well. And now you've got to transition to focusing on your back end and your hiring and your procedures and your manuals. So again, like that's just a great lesson for everyone to say, like, do I know what my objective is for this quarter, what my priorities are, and are they believable and are they achievable? Or is it just some massive to-do list of things that I have no realistic chance of completing, or what should be completed when over the next 90 days? And that's just chaos. That's not a way to effectively make progress in your business. So anyhow, I know I went on a little rant there. I'm going to step off the soapbox and be able to get back into the interview here. So let's talk about the others, as I'll refer to them. Have you invested in any other programs to help you grow your firm? I know you mentioned my father previously, and we talked a little bit about that already, but is there anyone else, or you don't have to mention names, but maybe just what would you feel the difference is and what you're getting from dream firms potentially from what you felt you were lacking or not seeing in other programs?
So yes, and I think, again, people who would reach out to you are individuals who would normally try different things and to basically get that internal improvement and hopefully through that get the external for the business. So yes, I have had other coaches, and no, they have not been effective. And I don't know if it was because they didn't know what they were doing, they didn't really care what they were doing, or they were only in it for the money. And what the difference is here, for whatever reason, Tyler and I have connected, and we have a fun relationship, and we tease back and forth, and I love that. It makes that human interaction and that connection, and because of that, and I'm sure you do it with all your clients. It's probably not just me, but because of that, you are able, because of your personality, you are able to kind of get inside my brain and help me let go of that control. And you also, as a coach, you have that gentle pushing, and then you have that slap you in the face when you need it. And it's like, and you hold people accountable. It's like, look, you're here for a reason, and I want you to succeed. So therefore, I am going to push you as I see needed.
Well, thank you for saying that. And Michelle, I have first of all, you are very special to me, but of course I have special relationships with all of our clients, but I do really enjoy ours. And there's a special moment in our history that I'd like to share, because unfortunately, Michelle's, I always want to say partner in crime, but crime fighting partner is not on today's call with us. She's fantastic. But I remember very distinctly, because originally it was really just me and Michelle, and I didn't know much about Janelle. She hadn't really been involved too much in our coaching relationship quite yet. And I remember very clearly, Janelle was now sort of like a part of the conversation, and she was very standoffish. And I said, hey, that's okay. Like, I don't know why, but I was just like, hey, no big deal. And what I didn't necessarily realize, and this is a good thing for everyone else to understand from your perspective as well, is sometimes there are past relationships in your field that didn't meet their promises. And you have to work harder and prove who you are to win over those individuals. And I'm proud to say that Janelle and all of us have a great relationship now. But this is to say, like, when she came on, I was almost like, I don't know what's going on, but she got to experience what it was like. And then she changed her perspective, and she shared something essentially just with how gracious or how happy she was with the decision to continue on with our coaching relationship. And again, it's like, there are a lot of bad accountants out there, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to be perfectly transparent about that. And there's a lot of people who've had really bad experiences with accounting professionals. So when you have someone that's maybe a little standoffish, it's not because they're a bad person or because they don't like you. It's they have something overshadowing their experience that you got to push through. And if you can do that, you may have an unbelievable friend and client for life. So just keep that in mind. But really appreciate the answer overall, Michelle. Thank you for that.
I think Janelle's exact words were, Tyler, you're the best coach ever.
Maybe I didn't want to say it like that, because that's how I remembered it, but it felt good to hear it. So thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. So let's talk about why you started working with us. What was really, again, you had that moment with your staff member kind of saying like, hey, this was great. You had the experience. It was great. But like, what was the actual, like, we need to do this for you?
Well, so let's go back to the 90s when I said that my life wasn't going where I wanted it to go. So, we fast forward, here we are in 2021. My life still, we're headed in a perfect direction. Don't get me wrong. My life is fantastic. I have people that love me. I have great friends. I have great clients. I have a great business. But I'm tired of being in the job. I'm tired of working on the tax returns and all of that stuff. I do want to get more into that advisory side. I want to get hands off of the business side. And I was going nowhere. I was running into a wall. And again, everybody's heard what you offer, and so they know what's going on. But it was just the right time, at the right day, that it's time to move forward. It's time to get out of this jam. Let's do it.
And that's it's a powerful realization, is that, look, it's not the perfect time for everyone at any given time, but I'd say don't wait till you hit the wall, right? Like if you're not making the progress, or if you realize that your potential is capped and you can't figure out why, there's no shame in asking for help and trying to figure out who can give you the best help. And I readily admit it could easily not be me, but the idea that you're going to get there by yourself without having some sort of third party objective thought, as much as it can be, to guide you along successful principles, it's really difficult. And I say that because I was the same way. I remember when I thought coaching was the stupidest thing in the world. And I'm eating crow every day in my life right now, because I was like, I can do it. I can figure it out. I just got to knuckle down. I'm not focused enough. I need to work longer. I got to work harder. I got to follow this thing and do this thing. And I'm bouncing all around. And then all of a sudden you have someone who's going, wait a minute, let's back up. Let's analyze what is the priority that's actually going to move the needle in your business, because the things you're talking about right now are in multiple different areas. And the one that's the most important, we're barely talking about at all. Why? Dive in, solve it. Let's put the action plan in place. Let's review the progress and keep moving forward. But no, 100%. So I think a lot of people on the listening to this and on today's call, getting started is always the toughest part, because, okay, yeah, now I give you the money, I sign the agreement, but how do I know that you don't disappear, or that it's not, outdated and overpriced material telling me to send cold emails, or like they don't know. But specifically, what was it like getting started for you, Michelle, with us?
Well, it was fantastic for me. And I really like how you have the program set up that, okay, here's our introductory, and we're going to walk through the videos, take it at your own speed. And of course, me, I'm, boom, boom, boom. I think I was finished in about a week or so. But anyway, and then we had those weekly coaching calls, I think. And I really like that setup, because then it gives you as a person, is this program going to work for me? Is this right? It's, yes, it's a commitment of dollars. It's an investment that you have to make, but it's also very useful information. And it's, even if you don't choose to go forward, which for me, it was a no-brainer to continue, but even if you choose not to go forward, you still have that wealth of information available. And it's that kickstart that everybody needs. It's like, oh my gosh, I never thought about that tech app. Oh my gosh, I never thought about this. It's, for me, it was exciting. So.
Well, excitement is an important emotion to be able to carry forward. And there's apprehension, but excitement to me is, again, something that's really important to us to kick off our relationship with, because it's going to motivate you to do more. And so when you join, it's important that we establish that, both from the group coaching, from the one-on-one Voxer, to the very first question that I ask you when you get ready to jump into the video training. We just say, okay, let's cut out all the surface. Why does this matter? Like, why does creating your dream firm fundamentally matter to you? Because it's different for me. It's different from someone else. But I got to understand why it matters for you. And a lot of people, it's fascinating, Michelle, because a lot of people, they've never really taken the time to think about it. They don't. And I go, it's the most important question that we need a meaningful answer to. Let's at least give it 30 minutes if you don't mind. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, like this is why I'm working so hard. This is why I joined this program. I may not have even necessarily realized it before right now, but I know it. And then we keep pulling on the strength of that answer to propel you guys forward.
And I'm going to adjust my camera here for just a second, Tyler, because I know you've seen it before, but right there on in back, it's why. And I look at that every single day as a reminder. It's like, why am I doing this? Of course, first answer is so my cats can live in the life in which they've become accustomed. But why? Why am I doing it? Why do I get up every morning?
It's something we can never ask too little. That's for sure. That's a great point, Michelle, and way to keep that in front of you at all times. How has this changed your life?
That's a great question. One of the things that it is helping me do is let go of the control. The control I feel like I need over the business. Other people that I have on the team are very smart. They know what they're doing. I don't have to micromanage. For me, that's huge because I want to be able to step away. Personally, I come in at 8:30 and I leave at 5:30. Sometimes I leave at 4. So it's been very helpful. And the work will be here tomorrow. It'll get finished. And I don't have that pull in my gut that, oh my gosh, I should be at the office doing this.
These two things that she shared are intricately related. This is not by happenstance that she doesn't need to feel the pull, because she's now been able to push a little bit more to her team, right? Like, the reason that you feel you have to be at your computer all the time is because, yes, there are a lot of responsibilities that you have, but one of the key responsibilities that you have is trusting your team. That trust has to be earned, but you have to give them the opportunities to earn that trust. And as long as they keep proving it, well, quite frankly, they should have the same, you should have a similar, if not significantly better lifestyle than the person who's clocking in from 9 to 5 for your firm. And if you don't, that's a problem, right? Like, that's something that we have to look at and say, like, I was joking around with Maureen's brother today about how a lot of people think of entrepreneurship as, oh, you're gonna have your own time, right? You're gonna be able to do whatever you want. And when we were cracking up, we we're like, it's kind of a myth. We're like, but we're getting much closer to being able to make sure that it's not a myth. But for the vast majority of people, it is. And they are literally chained to their desks. And it's sad. And I'm glad to know that you don't feel that way anymore, Michelle. That's fantastic.
And let me share something so Tyler and I had our hot seat this morning. It's Tyler Clark all day long today. And one of the things that I'm challenged with is one of my employees keeps pushing back that he's not going to look at these procedures and he's not going to help. So our staff meetings at 10:30 every Wednesday. And I'm saying, we got to get these, and the deadline is July 31st. And he's like, oh, that deadline's not going to work. I'm like, well, we've already pushed it from June 30th, so go ahead and look at it and get me something on July 31st. I would not have done that had I not had Tyler as a coach.
And again, it's a microcosm of a management principle, right? When you're getting ready to manage a team, you have to set certain expectations, and those expectations need to be very clearly communicated consistently. And if we went from a deadline of the end of June to a deadline at the end of July, if it is unreasonable to be able to meet that deadline, I need to know why. Coming back to that almighty question. And I'm going to determine whether or not that's a legitimate reason or not. And if it's not, the deadline is in place and I'm expecting you to meet it. And we can talk about sticks and carrots maybe later on. But again, the idea here is we need to make sure that we trust our team. And if for any reason that there starts to be a fraction or a fissure in that trust, let's dig into it. Let's understand. We don't want to lose talent, but we certainly don't want talent to walk all over us. We're not going to allow that. That's definitely not going to. Michelle talked about bringing out the slap sometimes. It's like, we're not going to allow that. That is not going to happen under any circumstance.
And again, in this instance, we have been doing this since June 1st. So yeah, it needed to be firm.
Hey, sometimes.
And again, wouldn't have done it without Tyler's pushing.
I appreciate that. And if I remember, we were originally saying, I'll get to that after my surgery. I said, that sounds like a hard conversation. I think we should have this sooner. Now, right now, if it's like the primary thing we're talking about, we need to act on it immediately. And needless to say, now it's in place. And, just as a quick segue about what coaching is really about, some people think coaching is about helping you to make the right decisions. And while, of course, that is a part of it, I will make I'll make a slight shift on that, which is coaching is about helping you to make decisions faster.
Mhm.
Michelle knew she needed to have this conversation and realign these expectations. She knew it. Just like all of you know that there are multiple decisions that you've most likely been sitting on that may benefit you, may not, but we don't know. And until we make the decision, we don't know. And all it does is take up bandwidth in your brain that you need to be able to do everything in your life. So make decisions quickly or quicker, whether it's with a coach or just with this piece of advice or guidance, because all you're doing is preventing being able to get the data to know whether or not it was a good decision or not. And you'll never be able to know without that powerful decision. Great points, Michelle. Thank you. And then let's talk, what do you enjoy most about working with us? What is that one thing that really shines through?
Just the ease of it. Again, you have made communication very easy. Obviously we have our weekly meetings and then our monthly hot seats individually, but the Voxer, and I know lately I haven't been using as much as I need to, but it's there. It's, if I need to tell you something, even if it doesn't matter, I can Voxer you and just say, hey, Tyler, this is what's going on. Think about it. We can talk about it. We can not talk about it, whatever, but this is what's on my mind. So it's, it's just that ease of working with you.
I appreciate that. And it's something to, again, think about. Do your clients feel it's easy to work with you and get the results? Are we making communication, even if it's not something like, I feel like a lot of people, especially in the accounting space, of course, they tend to put up a lot of barriers to their expertise, and rightfully so. We're not trying to necessarily just give away information for free, but when you've got a top tier client like Michelle, and when you have a top tier client, you want to make that experience feel good and make it feel like your expertise is accessible. And, when I first floated the idea of, well, we can give everyone kind of direct access to my cell phone through Voxer that comes through the program. I was like, but what if they, the natural things pop up? What if they abuse it? What if this? The things that would prevent you from making a decision, right? But have a coach, try it, see what happens. And I guarantee you that you'll have really important things come through and you'll be grateful for it because it'll give your clients a great experience. It's like, okay, I'll try it. I would never change it. I love it. I love the fact that someone can just be like, boop, boop, I get it, boop, boop, goes right back out to them. And that to me is just a way to just build the relationship in a way that's hard to replicate without something that gives you that level of access. So I'm glad you like that. Cool. All right. So what would you say to someone considering our services right now, Michelle?
I say go for it. Again, back to the OKRs, because I guess I started the second portion in January, February, something like that. I don't remember. Right during tax season, great time. But again, it absolutely was a great time because it does pull you out of that mode of let's crunch out the returns, pulls you out of that so that you can take a broader picture of what's going on. I would definitely, anybody asking me, I would definitely say join with Tyler. Fortunately, Maureen comes with him, which she is the more intelligent of the two. And, between the two of them, they're a great team on the technical side and on the personal interaction side. So absolutely.
It's definitely true that Maureen is the mastermind behind the scenes that, well, Wizard of Oz is not a great example because he wasn't actually doing anything, but no, she drives a lot of the experience, to be honest. Like a lot of people go, how how did this feel so good? Like as soon as I, signed the agreement, like why did this trigger so quickly and fast? Like I immediately got access to the material. Like, how did you do that? And it's like, other than saying like magic internet person, it's Maureen. And she is, again, she is a part of the program that is meant to be accessible, because there is a limit to my expertise, of course, just like there's limits to everyone's expertise. And again, something to pull from this is not necessarily like, okay, cool, I have Maureen and Tyler's expertise, but where is the expertise in your team that your clients could be benefiting from that maybe we're not highlighting, not giving them the opportunities, where is that? Because I can guarantee you that your team has some layer of expertise that your firm could benefit more from. And certainly your clients would benefit from more as well if your firm would too. So again, just some food for thought there, but Maureen is definitely the smarter of the two of us. I won't even attempt to argue that, and I'd be a fool to.
And trust me, I'm not the smartest person in my firm either, Tyler. So we're fortunate enough to be able to surround ourselves with quality individuals.
And again, to me, I want to stay in my zone of genius.
Mm-hmm.
You got to know what that is. And when you find yourself outside of that zone of genius, but it's an important thing, right? Like that's the key, is you're going to find yourself pulled into other areas, and you might say, I know nothing about how to do the technical, the automations, how to do the technical work, how to do the coaching side, how to have a meaningful sales conversation. And sure, we can make really good progress on these things. That's largely what the program is like, we want to give you that 80%, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to delegation and leverage to keep you where you deliver max value. And anything that takes away from that, got to pay attention to it and just keep an eye towards it and say, soon this is going to be off my plate.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you consider this one of the best investments you've made in your business, Michelle?
Oh, I think I've covered that in the last 45 minutes. Again, one of the things that has hit me this week is that I am starting to let go of that control, and the realization that in order to move the firm forward, I have to, and I would not be able to do that on my own. The realization, sorry, I have a coaching call here in 15 minutes I got to go to. But seriously, I would not have been able to do that on my own, because again, I've been doing this for 13 years, and it's not that the firm has not grown and we don't have quality clients. It's just, it's not what I want. And the perfect title, the dream firm. It's like, what do I want to make out of my firm? What do I want? What is my dream? And again, you're providing all the tools to help focus that, and it's the journey. It's not necessarily the destination, but it's the journey that we're learning through all of this and improving minute by minute, the atomic habit. And that's just huge. That's just huge.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing that. And we only have, we've got questions that I can see are coming in right now. So we've got plenty of time for Q&A today, guys. But I have one last question for you here, Michelle, and I can see a couple of people have plenty of questions for you, which is excellent. What has surprised you the most when it came to growing your firm?
The ease of it. Again, putting those processes in place and just following them. Believe in them, believe the process, and rely on them. Don't stick your finger in there and try to adjust them because they really do work.
No, that's a great answer, and beautifully said. I think a lot of people, yes, there's room for some adaptation and improvement, but please try and run things the way they're designed before you do that. Anytime someone's done that, they go, oh, this doesn't work. And I go, okay, let me see it not working. And within less than 5 seconds, I go, well, this is not how we instruct it. Why is it like this? Oh, I thought I'd change it. I go, okay, so change it back, run it the way I told you to, and let's make sure that it runs the way it's supposed to. And then we can to make a determination whether it works or not. And then sure enough, I never hear that again once it switches back. So anyway, that's the way things go sometimes. And just last thing here, Michelle, who would you recommend the Create Your Dream Firm program to?
Anybody that wants to grow their firm, somebody that's serious about it, because you always have tire kickers, and somebody who is not willing to put in the work. It's not a fit, because you have to work on yourself internally, and again through this coaching session, that's what you're doing. Even though it's geared towards the accounting firm, you're still making changes on the inside. And so it's somebody that's willing to do that, and willing to take your lead and just trust it. And somebody that wants to grow their firm that way.
Hey, look, that's perfectly said, Michelle. And every relationship in the service business is a two-way street. I can assure you, as long as you show up and you put in the effort, you're going to get a heck of a lot of effort back from us and our team here at Dream Firm. So I completely agree that's who I'd like you to recommend it to, because that's ultimately what we're looking for here, which is people who are as invested in their business as we are in ours, and as we'd like to be in yours. But if you can't show up, it's really hard for me to be able to give you what you're looking for. But perfectly said about making those internal changes, because something is guiding those external changes, and it doesn't just fall from the sky. It starts from somewhere, and it starts with being the Dream Firm leader, right? I mean, that's ultimately what we're looking for, and that's ultimately what Michelle is. So let us go ahead and jump into Q&A. We've got about 10 minutes here for Q&A. So I've got a question from Nate. Nate says, oh, that's not a question. Thank you for sharing your experience, Michelle. Wishing you the very best for your surgery. Thank you very much,
Thank you, Nate. Appreciate it.
Katrina wants to know, how large is your team, Michelle?
I always lose count. I think we have 6 people now. We have, let's see, 4 full-time and 2 part-time.
And we're getting ready to add another part-timer, are we not?
Yep.
Growth breeds new problems. Evan has a question. I struggle getting quality clients. Is that something you help with, Tyler? Evan, no, I only get really low quality bottom feeder tax returns. That's all I do. No. So Evan, obviously I'm joking around a little bit here. But here's the thing that I will say is that one man's trash can be another person's treasure. I don't like to necessarily just say, hey, we're only going to go and do this one thing. I'm not here to force you into a box. I have a guy who lives and breathes 1040s, which sounds crazy that everyone's kind of rushing to advisory, but that's his definition of a dream firm. That's his definition of a dream client. And we're just as effective as helping him to get that as we are as helping Michelle and everyone else that's looking, Ine, Tom, get these high-level advisory clients. It's, what's funny about marketing is it's actually just as formulaic as accounting. There are rules that you have to follow, and you have to know what the rules are. You have to stay within the bounds. And then there's a little art and creativity to go along with that science, of course, but we do our best to make sure that creativity part is as formulaic as possible, so that you don't have to feel like you need to become Hemingway or someone, with this incredible creativity capacity just to be able to get qualified clients and the clients that you're looking for. So yes, Evan, that is ultimately our bread and butter. I've got a question.
Tyler, let me jump in that you also learn to say no. And again, Tyler helps with coming to that conclusion as well.
Thank you for saying that, Michelle. It's something that can never be said enough, which is you have to be careful about the things you say yes to, because I talk to a lot of people who want to move into a higher quality, bigger engagement type of client, but then they go, I have no time. And then we say, okay, well, let's break down the makeup of your practice. And then we see all of these really small needs a daddy, mommy clients taking up, I got to hold their hand through everything, but you only have 2 hands. So if you've got a client who you need to hold their hand, you better be really careful, because you're out one, you got 2 clients like that. You really can't do anything now. So yes, learning to say no so that you can prioritize getting after those relationships is critical. Thank you for bringing that up, Michelle.
Sure.
Absolutely right on. Michael says, quarterly planning sounds interesting. I really need that type of accountability. When is the next enrollment date? So Michael, we do not work like a college. Okay. I'm not here to balloon the student loan debt. What we do here is we have rolling admission. So again, when it's the best time for you, ideally now, because why would you wait? You can get started whenever you'd like. We have no enrollment dates. We don't operate like that. When it's a great time for you, it would be terrible for you. Like, this is the perfect time for me. And I'm like, oh, our next enrollment date's in 7 weeks. You'd be like, but now's great. I'm ready. I'd be like, oh, you got to wait. So don't wait, Michael. Create your dream firm today. All right. I've got a question from Pat. It looks like for Michelle. What pushed you over the edge to work with dream firms? I've been thinking about it for a while now. Kind of answered this earlier, but Michelle, just one more time.
Again, it just has to, you just have to be in the right place at the right time. And it's that gut feeling. And normally if you ignore the gut feeling, you're going to be in trouble. So if you feel like it's the right time, it's the right time, and just pull the trigger.
Your gut is never wrong, as they say. Beautifully said. Jen says, we are a duo too. Can we both go through your program? Jen, absolutely. What I like to do is I like to make sure that anyone that's a part of management or ownership, or is realistically going to be a part, of either one of those, should be involved in this program. We talk about a lot of core skills. And I think as long as you guys are on the same page with wanting to grow as efficiently as possible, we'd love to have you both as a part of the program. So 100% would love to have both of you. Brett says, what's the link to join? I think we'll drop it in the chat somewhere around here. Maybe Maureen, if you could help us out with that, that'd be fantastic. And then, yeah, that should be coming up in there in just a second. Shane says, call booked for Friday. What's up, Shane? Can't wait to learn a little bit more about you. And Christian says, how can I learn more about your program, Tyler? Believe it or not a lot of people know this, because sometimes, the cobbler's kids have no shoes or something. We actually have a real website now, dreamfirms.com, and it will show you pretty much everything that you would like to know about learning more about the program. So that's a great place to go. We just launched it, I don't know, like a week or two ago. We're going to promote it by email soon. So anyway, that should be coming out soon. Arthur, I have to run to a client meeting. Great interview. Thank you. Pleasure. Thanks for hanging out with us, Arthur. Lenny, I have a really hard time working less than 60 hours a week. Maybe I should explore this. Lenny, your problem is not unique. And I assure you there is a solution that we can start to implement. It's not going to happen overnight, but you go from 60 to 55 to 50, right? Like, you have to start to understand what is a priority for you and what can be delegated. And that requires a conversation, some, of course, internal thought by you, but something we can definitely help you with. Let's see. Oliver says, do you have to be a CPA to maximize your program? Oliver, we do not discriminate here. As much as I appreciate the CPA designation, no, that is not a requirement. We have many successful enrolled agents. We have people who don't necessarily have designations and are more in that kind of bookkeeping realm, or even just that tax preparer realm without either of those. So please don't feel like you need the letters at the end of your name to be able to come in and create your dream firm with us. I don't think that should hold you back. But if you're close to getting your CPA, move forward with it too. I think it can be a great thing for your career to have that kind of extra layer of credibility that the market readily recognizes. And that's why I say that. I think it's not like, hey, you need to be able to do audits. You need to be able to do these services that the CPA designation allows. It's more of a brand builder that can help if you're close to it. If it's far off and no real hope of getting it in the short term, maybe not necessarily worry about prioritizing it right here and right now. I've got a question from Wes. I'm a solopreneur and feeling stuck with my growth. There are a lot of programs out there. How is this one different? So Wes, unfortunately, I don't know all the programs out there. I feel like every time I open my eyes, there's a new coach trying to sell accountants on marketing services in some capacity. But let me Let me put it to you like this. As far as I know, we're the only program with a written $50,000 annualized billing guarantee within the 1 year of the start date of your program, so long as you implement the material. And I don't know why you'd sign up and not implement it, assuming you're looking to grow your firm. So if they're not putting your money where their mouth is, maybe pump the brakes, take a harder look at what we have to offer. Second item is, are you actually getting one-on-one support, right? Like as much as I love group coaching is one facet that is allowed to help with accountability and crowdsourcing information, but you need one-on-one attention, and that comes directly from me. So there's no other program out there that's offering one-on-one attention directly from me. So that's a big differentiator. And then I'd say that the third item is that I've seen a lot of people who will have a program that is just a course. And I want to make a differentiation between course and program. Okay. Program has accountability, guidance, and accounts for your one-on-one situation. A course is, here's the box. I hope you fit in the box. Good luck. That to me is not the same thing. And it's an important thing to just, again, recognize the differences between those. Be very careful about buying a course because, well, at the moment they're created, they're kind of outdated. That's not to say that you can't have training materials, but a course alone, they don't get feedback from their audience. They can't update their materials. It can be a bad investment. And I don't know about you, but I bought courses and I think I've gone through less than 10% of them. And it's really, really a bad thing. We don't play that game here. We want 100% completion. That's the goal. And that's why we structured the program. I'm not okay with just selling an info product and hoping you go through it. Final differentiation. I know I'm on a soapbox here, but I'm almost done. Last one, okay, is that you get lifetime access and all future updates to our material. Some people will sell a course and they go, but here's course 2.0 that actually has all the things you wanted in the original one. Just pay me more money. No, we're not playing that game. We're never going to play that game. Okay. When you're with us for life. And it looks like I've got Steve booked a call. Gwen, okay, I'm going to book a call. Oliver, I have 2 members in my firm. Is your course applicable to my situation? My program is certainly applicable to your situation, Oliver. Great questions, everyone. If you have any additional ones, you can email them to me. Michelle, any parting thoughts or shots here?
Yeah, I got to get off this coaching call in a minute.
Tyler, overload today, that is for sure. Well, listen, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for taking time to share your experience, Michelle. I know everyone had a chance to really enjoy it, and I'm very much looking forward to continuing our relationship.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, for everyone else, remember, only you can create your dream firm, just like Michelle, but we help you every step of the way. Check out the link. Book your call. We'd love to learn more about you and how the Create Your Dream Firm program can do just that. Create your dream firm. Talk to you soon. Have a great day, everyone.